This video is going to be a film study look at Hendon Hooker and how he played in the Lions' 14-3 loss to the New York Giants Thursday night. Essentially, it's a rookie film study. Hendon Hooker suffered a ACL knee injury, I think November of 2022, sat out pretty much all of 2023, was able to be healthy, I believe, return late, but not get in a game. You didn't need him. You have Jared Goff. Nonetheless, I think it was a brilliant strategic move by Brad Holmes in the front office. I understand there's people out there who say, well, everyone gives grade A evaluations of Brad Holmes drafts because of his track record. Well, I think he knows what he's doing, number one. Number two, getting the value that you got in the third round. I think it was pick 68, but I might be wrong with my numbers there. I think it was a very astute thing to do. If you were to compare him to Sudfeld, I said this in my reaction video, he'd look drastically different. I'll have a significant amount of film to show you here. Very decisive and accurate. The ball gets on top of receivers quicker. He's got a live arm. Only finished, I think, 5 of 9 passing. 1 or 2 of his completions were with penalties. I know one of them was wiped away by a penalty on the defense. Just a huge difference in athleticism between Hooker and Sudfeld and Goff. On the QB boot, there's the added element of him being able to run away from people to get to the sideline. Pretty good athletes out there on the edge Thursday night for the Giants, and Hooker was able to get to the sideline both times. One time for a 6-yard gain, and the other time, obviously, the 16-yard gain where I believe he got hurt. I think it was a smart move by the front office to bring him in. Only played 2 possessions because he suffered an injury. Showed the difference between him and Sudfeld. Again, the rain was a factor, the wind was a factor, so we'll get a couple of other preseason games to see Sudfeld. Hopefully Hooker is able to make it back in the preseason and get some more reps. You as a Lions fan don't want to see Hooker in the game this year because it means Jared Goff would be hurt. You want to have him around as a security blanket, and I think he's a better second-string option than Sudfeld. No disrespect to the guy. He's an NFL quarterback, but I think Hendon Hooker is the better option for this team in the event that Jared Goff gets hurt. Significant number of plays here to go over. Basically, I'll go through multiple decisions that Hooker had to go through. This is a read option play on the first play of the game. I will digress here for a moment. I constantly talk about attacking to the boundary with the run game. I went over this in a Ravens video earlier. Since these hashes in the NFL are so close together, there's more space here to the boundary in the NFL than there is in college or high school. So the strong safety in a nickel alignment by the defense is going to be responsible for C gap. That's the gap between the tackle and the tight end, while the edge defender is responsible for D gap. They're locking this on the backside. Basically, they're blocking the edge defender, going to try to combo up with a 3 technique to the frontside inside linebacker, force this safety to come up and get involved in the play. As an aside, it's Zonovan Knight, who's a guy that I think is athletic, not going to overtake Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, certainly, but I'm glad to see him out there. I know he suffered an injury last year. So same possession, his first possession of the third quarter. This is the QB boot out of 12 personnel. This is the very next play, 2nd and 7. Not going to show you every single play. We will skip around a little bit. But 12 personnel moved both tight ends into the boundary. Again, forcing the boundary side safety. Now, the ball is technically just tucked inside the left hash, but there is less space over there. The ball's quite close to the middle of the field, but they're forcing the safety to roll down up there to the side where you have 2 tight ends, basically tray wing, 2 tight ends on the same side of the field, and then they're booting the quarterback opposite, bringing these guys back across. This guy got bumped. You've got the high route there. Hooker, for whatever reason, doesn't feel like he's going to be able to get it there. You do have a closing DB on it. Gets a 6-yard gain. Almost gets a first down. 3 plays later, I believe. Quick read. He sees the inside linebacker blitzing. 54 played a nice game for the Giants. I believe he suffered an injury in late third quarter, something like that. But he played quite well. Talking about this inside linebacker here. He's going to blitz. And then the way that the Lions are covering this is the safety is spinning down to take the halfback man. And then they're just basically playing man on the X here. But give credit to the corner, the boundary side corner. It's away from trip, so I'll call him the boundary side corner, even though the ball's almost in the middle of the field again. As this ball is thrown by Hooker, you do get the safety coming down, and this corner peels off his man immediately and gets involved in the tackle. I think the throw is a split second late. Not incredibly late. It's not egregious, but I think that this ball could be there quicker, such that it would give Zonovan Knight the chance to catch the ball maybe now and then be able to make a move on if there's only one defender there. In this case, there's two defenders there, so it's going to be very difficult for him to turn it into anything at all. The concept is the correct read, I think, if you want Hooker to get rid of the ball quickly. Theoretically, if the inside linebacker isn't on top of him so fast, he could wait for the little snag or curl route by the X and try to get the ball there, but that inside linebacker was right on top of him. 3rd and 8. Again, first possession of the third quarter. Going to end up being a scramble by Hooker. It's man. Again, there's pressure. I believe it's coming from the left-hand side of the offensive line. He's definitely looking for, I think it's 83, running the climb concept here. And were he to have a little bit more time, he's going to take it. As soon as he saw pressure here, he moved. If you've got any kind of time on this, as soon as this sifts out, you see what's happening. Safety and corner both going with the little under route. I believe that's a tight end there from the boundary, from the top side of the field. And 83 is going to be wide open. Give credit to Hooker for getting 6 yards. This is one of those things that him and Ben Johnson, the offensive staff, quarterbacks coach, are going to be able to talk about. Hey, you know the concept that we're looking for. You've confirmed the coverage. If he has, I'm quite sure that they've already talked about, they had that conversation, after this play on the sideline. If you've confirmed the coverage, you pretty much know what you're going to get. He didn't know that player, 83, was going to be wide open like that. Necessarily just because of the coverage. This is an end zone angle. And you'll see, I believe it's 94 here who wins to get pressure. It might be 48. They might be running a stunt here. I'm wrong. It just beats the left guard. And Hooker has to step up. We can't see it, but it's off screen down to this side. Quite easy to say, hey, Hooker should throw the football, but he's already made his mind up, and he's athletic enough to get it done. I don't know who I've only really been following Lions football. Well, I did follow Barry Sanders. I mean, who didn't? In the 90s. We all had Madden back then. But I don't know who the most athletic quarterback is of the last 30, 35 years. Bobby Lane and others, significantly, high-level athletes for their time. I'm talking about the last 30, 35 years. Basically, since they ran the run and shoot with Wayne Fonts. I guess it would be Rodney Peete. I think he had like a 340-yard rushing season with 6 touchdowns his second or third year in Detroit. Hendon Hooker, to me, is definitely the best athletic quarterback that I've seen around the Detroit Lions for a long time. If you're a longtime Lions fan, you've got more knowledge of their history than I do. I'm talking about dating back to the early to mid-'90s. Feel free to let me know if there's someone I'm forgetting. So I think this is a nice throw, and I think this should be pass interference. I believe the interference should be called on 20, or maybe it should be a hold. First play, next possession, third quarter. Little play action fake. Giants are blitzing, bringing a safety from the boundary. And I think this is a nice throw. We will get the end zone angle here for a moment, and you can tell me, you can see what you think. You can see all the space for one to run onto here. Clear out concept up at the top of the field, basically, by, I believe, DPJ. We'll give you the end zone angle of this one. You're welcome to let me know if you think it's an off-target throw, or if you disagree with me. I think it should be called. You will see it at the bottom side of the screen. I'm not sure if the frame will give you the space to see it. It's those two guys there. I think it's Alexander, and you've got a quite obvious hold here that destroys his momentum, his posture trying to move in this direction. I really wasn't sure why this was not called, in my opinion, but I understand there's going to be contact on pretty much every play. That one seemed like it was a second and a half, maybe not actually a second and a half, a beat and a half before the ball arrived. It seemed like something that we've seen called pretty often, let's put it that way. I think it's a nice throw. You may disagree. I think he's put it out there against man for the receiver to go make a play. In this case, slight contact in the NFL, I guess, was able to get him off his track. So 2nd and 10, very next play. This is going to be a speed out to the bottom side of the screen. I think it's Isaiah Williams from Illinois. And the ball gets out quick. The ball gets on top of receivers quick. Again, Sudfeld had the unfortunate disadvantage of playing in the rain and the wind. So it's a different thing throwing the ball in the second half for Hooker. But this ball gets on top of the receiver quick, and he's throwing it from the other hash. I remember hearing all the things said about Tennessee's offense. It's a glitch offense. It's not transferable to the NFL. Just from the little small sample size we have here, again, it's a preseason game going against second stringers, in some case third stringers for the Giants. There looks like transferable skills to me. A guy makes quick decisions, in my opinion, goes through his reads quickly. You'll see a almost San Francisco 49ers-esque I'm talking Bill Walsh, San Francisco 49ers, type decision-making from Hendon Hooker later on. So it's interesting that that's in the Ben Johnson playbook. Athletic, I think a strong arm. I don't think he's that inaccurate, so I understand other people's judgments of those individual skills may be different, and the accumulation of those differences might provide for people the platform or foundation to say, I don't think he can make it in the NFL. I think he looks like he's got all the skills, all the tools, the mental processing and all those things, the experience, I'm not sure about. I think this is I have no knowledge of those things other than good things, great things that we saw at Tennessee. So this is a drag from the slot to the top side. This is a 3rd and 5 underneath here, and you will get the end zone angle of this one. I like his posture. Everything about Hendon Hooker looks confident and well-schooled to me. Granted, he has time on this particular play. For me, the difference between him and Sudfeld, the way they look just on these things, taking their drop, going through their reads, he's confident. I can see confidence. I don't know how I can prove that to you, but I think he's the second-string guy, and I don't think it's particularly close. Just maybe the experience with the offense for Sudfeld, and I guess that's the only factor here. But you got Mann again. So Hooker, has picked out the correct route to target for Mann. Is that an accident? Is that exactly what he was told by Ben Johnson in the huddle? No, I think he was probably told, if we get Mann, then this is the route that you're going to be looking at. And they got it, and he capitalized. Ended up being a 13-yard gain. Same drive, obviously. Going to be incomplete to Alexander on a little curl out down here to the bottom side of the screen. I think I'll give you the end zone angle of this because I want you to try to focus on his helmet. Again, I believe this is a tipped pass. I think he's 1, 2. And you'll see it from the end zone angle. I think it was 1 down here on the out, and then 2. His helmet really quickly, I think, went from one to the other. You see the angle change. I don't think the load up to throw there was as quick as some of the other throws. I think you're talking about a 1/10 of a second, or maybe 0.15, 0.17. It looked like a little bit of an elongated throwing motion on this particular play. So he's gone 1 here to look for 43. And then once he sees 39 expand with it, he's come back to what I would call the curl area. And I think this ball is tipped. I'm not sure if I'll be able to pause it in the right spot. Maybe you don't think it was tipped. I think it's tipped right here by this lineman, which is what makes it be off target or inaccurate. I don't think Hendon Hooker on a curl route to the near side, top side of the numbers is going to be off by 2.5 yards. But I understand if there's people out there who disagree. This is a 3rd and 8 completion to the tight end. 43 down here against Mann. I think he catches it twice. There's also a penalty against 48, the defensive end. I didn't think the Lions pass pro with this group looked great. At times, it's a stunt from up top. 48 step into the tackle, and he's going to loop underneath, and he smacks Hooker in the mouth. Nonetheless, Hooker gets the ball to 43, excuse me. Here, man-to-man, in stride. Maybe it's slightly on the back hip. That ball could probably be out there another foot or two in front of the tight end. I didn't give you the end zone angle of that one. My apologies. They go under center here twice. Here, once the offense crosses the 50, this one I like the decision. It's 21 personnel or 12 personnel, depending on what you. I think that's 43. So I'm calling him a tight end, but maybe on the roster he's a fullback. But it's a 21 personnel formation because as an alignment, this is a fullback, and then this is a tight end or a Y. So the formation 21, regardless of what the personnel group is. Hooker looks really comfortable under center to me. Play fake, gets the feet set, and he's looking for this route right here, which this corner kind of sits for a moment, and then a great sense of things. This boundary side inside linebacker is reading Hooker. As soon as he turns his hips to go to that over concept, Hooker shoots it out there to the flats. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think Hooker understood. Did he see him? I don't know, but did he sense that the boundary side inside linebacker was there? I'm not sure. All I know is it was the right decision for the route concept. It's flood concept, if you ask me, where you've got a classic vertical over concept, and then someone in the flats all to the same side. 3 receivers to the same side. That clear out route is just a dummy route. Again, it's Donovan Knight who makes a guy miss, ends up getting 9 yards. Under center again, 1st and 10, play action boot. This is the 16-yard run. Somewhat similar concept to the last couple of plays you've seen, whereby number 1, Alexander, the slot, is going to run an out. I think it's 43 here, is running the over, and then you've got a vertical press by the outside receiver there, which is essentially a clear out route, isolating to the field. The field side outside linebacker, Hooker, is able to outrun him. 54, again, I thought did a nice job identifying this, opening his hips, turning to get underneath of the route, not looking at the quarterback at all. It ends up looking like man there because he got the wrong read. I used to coach inside linebackers and know a little bit about it. I'm not by no means an expert. But 54, this is actually a concept that the Lions inside linebackers have had difficulty with in the last couple of years. Really struggled with it in 2022. So 54 is going this way because that's where the flow's taking him. And then he's got the wrong read because it's play action. He didn't do anything wrong. The offense, credit to them, gave him the wrong read. So instead of keeping eyes on the quarterback and trying to get back to his landmark, he's off his landmark by too far. He's got to turn his back and go because he needs to get there quicker. He's in recovery mode, basically. And he actually ends up being the player who gets hurt. Hooker didn't hurt him. He ran into one of his teammates. I think I gave you the end zone angle. Goes down as a 16-yard gain. You've got 2 instances of Ben Johnson running the boot with Hendon Hooker. And on 2 of them, Hooker's able to get outside, beat the DN either to the sideline. Is he going to do that with starting caliber outside linebackers in the NFL? Well, you're probably going to have run the outside zone or the stretch away from these guys such that they'll commit a little bit more. That's the whole point. That the run game and the play action boot off of it feed into each other or they are complementary. Pretty impressive play, if you ask me. You may not be as impressed by it as I am. No problem. The combination of what he did in the 2 possessions, I think, illustrates why they drafted him in the 3rd round. This video's gone on a little longer than I wanted it to. We're looking at upwards of 20 minutes. This is what I would call the 49ers type stuff. Bill Walsh, 49ers type stuff. There is a face mask. It's 5 out. So I think 86 is the guy running here. 10 kind of is checking this up. I thought he was going to bring this route back to the inside. I think if he brings this route in, Hooker hits him a little earlier. 43 releases to the flats here. 27, I think, is out into the flats up there, and the X is obviously going to a route. I forget what he ran, but it's a 5 out, meaning there's no one in pass pro out of those 5 guys. Hooker is 1 here, or maybe he's just trying to get players to move to that direction to then come back to 2 or maybe 3. I wish he had been able to get to 3 because 86 has got a great opportunity to get a big gain or possibly a touchdown. Post-contact, it's a one-on-one in there. I'll let it run one more time from the all-22 and then 1 time from the end zone so you can see. I'd like to see him get to 3. This is certainly something they would talk about, him and Ben Johnson. Definitely saw his body orientation, his alignment where he was looking, change there. 1 to 2, fullback to Z, which is number 10. Doesn't get to 3. Again, there's pressure. It's base defense by the Giants. It's kind of got somebody being walked into his lap. Tight end, I think 86 is down there. You guys can see him a little bit, even though the frame is covering up a little bit of your screen. I've got a streaming computer, a source computer, and then a streaming computer. So I can write on it and use some of my software off screen from you guys. There's 1, or he's maybe just, quote, looking someone off. 2 coming back to the Z, and for whatever reason, he's not able to get this ball off because of the pressure. He, I think, was also looking for the Z to bring the route in, and 10, the Z kind of sat it down momentarily. Then you get a goal line stand by the Giants, or inside the 10, I should say, where the Lions are not able to capitalize. Hooker scrambles here for 6. I think this is the 3rd play action boot for him. The concept is different when he's running it. 3rd and goal, I skipped a play. A lot of teams ran this tray offensive formation in week 1. The Ravens did it. The Eagles did. The Lions, it's 11 personnel. You've got tight end who's on the line of scrimmage. And then 2 of the receivers, the H and the Z, on the same side with the X backside. So I call it Trey because the tight end's on the line. Back shoulder fade here to DPJ. I think his route release is a little bit slow, like from this to here. In that range there, it's just a little bit slow, and consequently, he's not to the spot that I think Hendon Hooker was looking him for. I think being slow in your first 2.5 to 3 yards kind of takes away more at the end of the route than you would expect, just from a mathematical standpoint. If you're slower in this area, but you were fast from here to here, I don't think you lose as much at the end. I'm not sure what that's called, cumulative loss, but in any case, you're talking about a half-yard differential there. Missed opportunity for DPJ, a guy with talent that apparently is not as high on the depth chart as people would have thought right now as it stands after week 1 of the preseason. And then finally, the 4th down play. Not a huge fan of this one, but Hooker sees something to the boundary. I'd like to see just a straight pick or rub by the X for real. DPJ's kind of getting into his route. He's settling here for a moment and then going and getting into a route. And there is open space there, cool, but the Giants are bringing pressure off the edge, and he can't see this. DPJ can't necessarily see both of these guys blitzing. He's not involved in the pass pro. They're releasing the back, so it's 5 out. I'm thinking there needs to be more of a pick there on the safety who's responsible for the running back, and if we can get the ball out here, then we've got an easy touchdown. It's very similar to the completion to Zonovan Knight earlier that I talked about, where he released it quickly out into the flats. The safety and the corner were there. It was to the top side of the screen about 20 minutes ago in this film study. Forgive me if this one went on a little bit longer. I don't know about you, but I've been waiting to see Hendon Hooker play, to see how he performed. I think he played better than his numbers. The rushing stats, I didn't even quote them to you. I'm not exactly sure what they were. But he changes the boot game. I think he goes through his reads quite quickly. I have no idea what Dan Campbell and or Ben Johnson has said or will said, given that he suffered a concussion. So those will be what the questions are focused on. I don't grade players. I thought he played well. I thought he did a lot of things, executed things under center, executed things in the shotgun, on 3rd down, against man, whatever him and Ben Johnson, whatever page they were supposed to be on, they were on in terms of the coverage. Because based upon the coverage, Hendon Hooker, in my opinion, went to the right place with the football. Sometimes Giants guys made nice plays. I believe one time they got away with a hold that, may or may not, maybe it should or shouldn't be called in the NFL. But in any case, you guys let me know if you agree with my assessment and how I broke down some of the plays. This one went on a little bit long, but I don't know about you. I've been waiting a long time to get new film, and it's just fun to be able to do this. So if you appreciate it, please let me know in the comment section. Please consider commenting once the live stream, once the premiere posts up, because that seems to help the videos get more exposure. If you think other Lions fans would enjoy this one, this film study look at Hendon Hooker, even though he only played 2 possessions, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.